At Hillbros Transportation, we roll together.
All right, everybody, welcome and thank you for being here. One of the first things we want to do is give a big shout out to Brookside Church here that shared their space with us. So please give a hand. That's Rob back there. Melinda, I think, helped make this happen. Thank you both. We look forward to being good neighbors with them for a long time to come. And also a big thank you to the team that helped put all this on today. Deb, please stand up. And anybody that was involved today. Deb and your team, Mitch, Laura, I appreciate you and your help to do all this. It's a beautiful space. It's working really well.
And Michael.
Oh yeah, poor Michael. Andy. All right, agenda.
All right, so we had Rob and I did a recorded message back in July. I don't know if you all got it, but we went over the financial reporting for the prior year. Rob's going to talk about executive awards. We're going to talk about the June-July year-to-date performance, just a 2-month snapshot. We're talking a little bit about the industry, what kind of headwinds we have. We're going to talk about our forecast for next year, for year 24, which is June 1, 24, and the financial position we're in. And then Rob's going to talk about some of the updates with all the individuals on the bullet points you see ahead of you. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Rob.
Okay, I want all the executives to come up on the stage. Pleased to accept an award. They can actually grab their award, take it with them this time. We did this a little earlier, but
Pete, that's you.
just grab your award, please.
What's on your sandwich, Pete?
For your wisdom and influence.
They all say night day.
So we do a lot of awards a couple different times a year. Hillbros Way Awards. If you've ever noticed, there's never an executive that gets one of those awards. There's a reason for that. They just choose not to. But I wanted to take a moment to recognize them. The financial performance that we recorded and shared with you all back in July was a record year for Hill Brothers. Record revenue, record operating profit. And that was delivered to you by the team that's up here. Some of them couldn't be here. So Brianna Ziegler, Jesse Boyer, Scott Hill, all very important pieces of this team just couldn't be here today. And all of them, most all of them were around. They helped develop the culture that we have, the Hillbros Way wheel that we have. That was, a lot of the people up on this stage were instrumental in that. So they helped shape this culture. They helped execute this culture. And as I was thinking about what I would say about all of them, they all have strengths within that culture that really stand out. So Al Hill's a find a way guy. He is creative. He is charismatic. He makes things happen. His brother Pete told me, he said, Al's going to bend some air. Al's going to do some things that you just didn't think were going to happen. He just did it with helping us to keep the Costco business. He bent air.
That was not fun.
But he did it. He was relentless about it, relentless, creative, all the kind of things you need to be in this business to beat the other guy. Al was the one who did it, okay? His brother Pat's an own it guy in our world. I think most of the people in operations know he wants you to own what you do. And he's strategic. Nobody asked me more about our strategy and what's going on and are we following our strategy than Pat. So I applaud him for that. Pete Hill, Pete has everyone's back. I know most of these executives, if not all of them, have gotten a note from Pete about something he saw that maybe they could use to make their area better. He's over there trying to share his wisdom from so many years of doing this to help all of them to be better and all of you as well. Jesse Boyer, I can't think of a better growth and development guy. He wants to grow the company. He's got a mad amount of energy about it. His team, he wants all of his team to grow. He wants them to go 2 for 4 with 6 RBIs and a double, maybe a home run. I mean, he wants to help you to do it. And that's the kind of leader that he is. Kaylee Bruner, it isn't on our Hillbrows Way wheel, but she's a street fighter. And believe me, in the freight market that we're in right now, she might not look like a street fighter, but she's a street fighter, trust me. But you need a street fighter right now to fight for our drivers to get freight, to keep them moving. She's doing it all the time. She's relentless about it, about improving herself, about improving her team. So just a tremendous leader. Brianda Ziegler, another one about relentless. Brianda is curious. She's always looking for ways to improve processes. Relentless about improvements is the second one for her as well. She's always trying to find ways to use technology to make all of us better and give us the tools that we all need to be successful. Mitch is working together with lots of different departments. His recruiting team is having to work with safety, they're having to work with the shop. He really helps to bring all that together. And he's also a celebrate and laugh guy. So he's talking about our achievements. He's really supporting his team. He does an excellent job at it, and I appreciate him for doing that. Glenn Canust, leading our shop, giving them the discipline that they need. They have to work on all those little things, fixing your equipment to make sure that it doesn't go wrong down the road. We appreciate all of you guys for doing that. We appreciate what Glenn does to work with that team, to own it, to find a way every day to keep our equipment moving. So a tremendous job that Glenn does. And he's also building a team. It's tough to keep a team staffed right now. He's got a good team, and he's trying to show them and develop all of those folks to be the best that they can be. Scott Hill, who's not here, is another work together guy. He loves to work with operations, find out what they need to be successful, find the holes in our network, and go after finding freight to do it. And he brings a lot of energy to it and always a positive attitude. So overall, the team just went through all the individual things that they do so well. They also work so well together as a team. They're tremendously unselfish. All of them still, none of them knows it all. I mean, they're all trying to keep learning. And they do that, and they learn from each other as well. And they take action. They're not the kind of, I've heard people talk about their leadership teams and they're like, yeah, I don't know what they do. I hope you don't say that about these folks up here. I know I don't see it. They want to take action. They want to make something happen. They're doing it every day. And every single one of them has an uncommon desire to succeed. They want to win, and they want to help all of you to be better. So I'm proud of what they've achieved, and they're going to get an award for the wonderful performance that we had. But what I want you all to know is going into this year, different operating conditions. You've seen it, we're going to talk about it. Times are going to be tough. And the reason I'm confident about how we can get through it is because of this team right here. They've been through it. They know what it's going to be like. They don't like it any more than you do, but they know how to get through it and be successful. And what they don't know, they're gonna just about die trying to figure it out. So you got them leading as we go through this next year, and I think that gives me confidence, and I hope it does you as well. So please give them a round of applause. Right here. Thanks, Aria.
And one thing I want to make sure everybody understands is that we are an asset-based logistics company. You guys see that on our trailers. If anybody asks you, what does that mean? It's the assets obviously are the trucks and trailers running down the road. Jesse and Michael Deck, his team, saying we're a logistics company is we're working together to expand the business. And part of the reason is, like that last slide, we grew by 54% since 2021. We couldn't have done it without the logistics. So basically, we took advantage of our customers, like Kellogg's, Conagra, Hormel, Smithfield, and got them to work with our logistics company where our trucks would not normally go. So if anybody asks you what does asset-based logistics means, that's the growth with our logistics division, even though we had a truck line that went along with it. So with that said, I'll jump over to the performance. So this is June, July. This is just 2 months. So what it basically shows is there's a little deterioration in the marketplace. we've had to take rate reductions in freight, just pretty much across the board. The market is flipped such that we've seen an average of anywhere from 5 to 10% rate reductions. Just recently, the ocean networks that we run in the 40s, we had to take a 10% across the board cut, or they threatened to pull the business. So this is the kind of game of chicken that's going on right now. So I want to make sure everybody understands that shippers today have an upper hand on us, and they feel like it's time for payback. But trust me, we will get even. It's going to take time. But it may be a year, maybe 6 months from now, but you'll see in another slide where the market conditions have really deteriorated. I think it's hit rock bottom. I can't prove it, but I've seen an uptick on the load counts lately, so maybe we finally hit the bottom. So anyway, basically what this says is right now, the consolidated operating ratio is around 98.5. That means basically for every dollar, we got 2.5 cents profit. So it kind of gives it in a layman's term. I'm not worried about this right now, but I'm just telling you, we've got work to do to get the rates back up, but it's just going to be, we're all going to have to be patient because they got the upper hand.
Yep, and that's how it happens. There's ups and downs in this industry if you spent any time in it, and sometimes they're hard, really hard, and we're in a kind of a hard down.
I'll remember who they are though.
Yeah,
we will get even.
What does that do? Yeah, we get even. That's kind of how it goes. They get even, we get even. Right now, they're getting even. Michael, we can go to the next. Yeah, speaking of that, so this is the Trucking Conditions Index put out by FTR, Avery Weiss and his team. Try to be consistent. We keep looking at this. Unfortunately, for the last 16 months, it showed that it's not favorable conditions to be in the transportation business. Most of us know that. We've seen it. The prediction from Avery and his team kind of coincides with what we're thinking. As Al said, we've kind of reached the bottom. We're probably going to stick around here for a while, we think. Avery and his team thinks maybe in the springtime things are going to start getting a little bit better, and that's kind of how we feel as well. No promises. We don't know how long this could take. There's a lot of, and really what's driving is there's a lot of trucks. There's a lot of small trucking companies that have expanded. There's a lot of new trucking companies that have formed. Whether they can survive through this market is going to be tough, and we'll see how it goes. They're going to hang in there as long as they can. As long as they do that, there's kind of more trucks out there than there is demand for trucks, and that's driving these prices down. So the market, as a capitalist, the market's just going to take care of that one way or another as we move on. How long that'll take, we don't know. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide. This is a slide that was brought to us about kind of how things are in this marketplace. The last couple of years, we've thrived. As Al said, we had the upper hand. We were getting even to some extent, or doing what we could. Now it's flipped. So for a while there, we were preparing to endure, knowing that all this capacity had come into the market. At one time, this is going to switch, and now these shippers have the upper hand, as Al said. So we think around the springtime, we're going to be back into this preparing to thrive and preparing again for us to have an upper hand. But until then, it's going to be tough. We're going to have to take our costs out and really try to be as efficient as we can. We're going to fight. I want to tell you, Al, everybody, we're going to fight to keep every truck we have, keep every driver we have, keep every job that we have, keep it the size that we're at. And actually, let's roll into the forecast, Michael, because this is where, we have a forecast here for the year, and the biggest thing I want to focus on is that we still have in this asset-based logistics model that 99.1 in that total column. That means we're forecasting to be a small operating profit, and in these kind of operating conditions, you got to fight to do that. We're gonna fight to do that. Neither of these businesses do we think is going to shrink. They're actually doing more. Their revenue is dropping. On the truck line side, a lot of that's due to fuel. We have a fuel surcharge that goes up and down that revenue as the price of fuel goes up and down. Fuel was pretty high in that last year, so that we don't have that right now. But that's really something that gets passed through. So that's a big chunk. The truck line is actually doing more miles with more drivers than it did a year ago. And the same thing with the logistics company. The Omaha piece of that logistics company is going to do 8% more in load volume than they did the year before. It doesn't look like it when you look at that top line. But again, as Al said, these shippers can pay less for us to do the same thing that we did a year ago, a couple of years ago, and that's what's going on. So it doesn't probably look good and feel so good that we're all going to have to do the same amount of work for less money, but that's what happens in this kind of contraction. So the biggest thing we're trying to do is hold on to everything that we have so that when things turn around, we're going to be back into thriving once again. So, but for now, we're forecasting some profitability going forward. You can go ahead to the next slide, Michael. At a time like this, it's all about your cash. When your business is facing tough conditions, you got to have enough cash to keep everything going. And thankfully for us, we're in a very good cash position. We have $1 million in the bank. We have money to pay our plate payments that we have to pay those every December. It's almost $500,000. We already have that money set aside. Not every trucker out there, trust me, can say that. And a lot of people are going to be watching that December, January timeframe, because if people can't make that payment, that's when they'll kind of fall out of the marketplace in a lot of cases. So we already have that money set aside. We have positive operating profits that are going to help us with our cash flow. And we also have a lot of equipment that we're going to be buying. Over 50 trucks in the next year, over 50 trailers in the next year. And that's going to replace equipment. The equipment that we're going to sell is paid off equipment. That means that's all cash that's going to come in, that we can choose what we want to do with that. Maybe we're going to use that to just buy that equipment so that we don't have to get a loan for it. On the other piece of this, Kent, I asked him just this morning, I said, Ken, what's our credit rating? Most of you know, you get a car loan, you buy a house, you get a credit rating. So do companies. Well, our credit rating is a 97. It's 97 out of 100, so it's hard to be much better than that. That means there's a lot of people that want to loan us money. We have some big name lenders already that help us out. Every one of them wants to loan us more money. So not every trucker out there, trust me, can say that. So I don't want you to be worried about whether or not we're going to get through this. We're going to get through it because of the resources that we have. How well we get through it is up to us and what we do every day to fight through it. So
Yeah, and just one more thing before, so the sleepers, the day cabs on the last slide, all those are what we're going to liquidate. So that's going to generate that amount of cash above and beyond the million. That's going to take a little while to do. We do have new dry-vans coming in, 25. We had 25 new reefers, ironically. We're going to sell that like kind amount. So that cash will still come in once we do sell those trailers and tractors.
And the new investment's over $12 million by the end of May that we'll be putting in for new equipment to keep everything moving efficiently. So, okay. I'm going to jump in shared services. This team led by our CFO, Brianna Ziegler, who couldn't be here. The IT team. The IT team's done a tremendous job in the last year. A lot of setting up some new offices. A new office in Lincoln, the new M Street office has been a big thing. That's on top of all the things that they normally do to keep all of us moving and working efficiently. So I know Michael and his team are going to have, in the coming year, a lot less of that. So they'll have more time to invest and help a lot of you with some new tools. We're going to try to streamline some of our softwares. Right now we have over 200 different softwares. So we're going to try to see if we can't get by with less of those and still be effective and hopefully save some money, part of that efficiency. They're going to help integrate. We have some integrations between some of our softwares. Some of our softwares, it's a lot more efficient if they talk to each other than we have someone in the middle. So Michael and his team are going to be working to improve that a lot as we go forward. And they're also going to improve some of these integrations for the drivers out there. We've gotten these TransFlow tablets. And when we got those TransFlow tablets, we know that there's more that we can do with those things that can help you, be more of a tool for you. Ryan, as I'm looking at right now, I know he's got plans to put that into place. He needs some help from Michael's team in order to do that. So look for some of those improvements over the next year that hopefully can help a lot of you out with that. Operational reporting. We're going to talk about that next with accounting as well. But Michael and his team are really going to be instrumental in helping improve some of that. In order for us to effectively manage the business, myself, all these executives and managers, you need good information, timely and accurate. And we're going to try and work really hard to improve that with Michael and his team over the next year. So
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment too, but on the office to M Street. I want a big shout out to Michael and his team for getting us set up at the new building. My God, a lot of man hours, a lot of extra hours. So a big shout out to Michael. Stand up, Michael. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the accounting team. As I mentioned, a lot of operational reporting improvements is going to be on deck for the accounting team as we try to get better. There's also an initiative that Brianna and her team are going to be a big part of leading. It's trying to reduce our overhead by 10%, try to get that more efficient. So there's going to be some RFPs around fuel. Those are requests for proposals. As Al has said, our shippers come to us. Sometimes they ask for a price reduction. Sometimes they just tell us that we're going to take it. We can play that game a little bit too with the people that supply us information, challenge them to do that so that we can save some money. So we're going to do that with fuel. Probably lots of other of our vendors. I know our accounting and tax services, we're going to challenge them to do that more efficiently. We're going to create some databases for equipment reporting. There's only 700 pieces of equipment. So getting that together and efficiently to manage is going to help Al and I tremendously to make some decisions. And right now, some of the decisions around equipment are a big deal. There's opportunities. When we have a market like this, this is a little off the accounting side, but right now we're evaluating buying some used equipment because some used equipment right now is getting really cheap because some of those places are suffering and they're having to liquidate some equipment, and we're looking to see if there's some opportunities. So some of these tough times on the other side can create opportunities. So we're going to move on to the HR, Human Resources. Deb Fury leading this team. Thank you, Deb. All the growth we've talked about, that growth doesn't happen without people. So Deb and her team have been instrumental in helping staff the Lincoln office, helping staff all the growth that's happened in the last couple of years. So thank you for that. Their team's going to grow. They're going to get a corporate development coach. This is someone that's going to come alongside managers out there to really help them set up their teams to be high performing, and not only set them up, but once they're there, how do you keep them performing at a high level? That means you got to do different things. You got to be challenging them all the time. So we have a coach that's going to come alongside these managers that can help them to do that. So we're excited about that addition to the HR team, and a lot of focus as well on retention is going to be part of that with this person. And they're going to be working alongside Deb and a lot of her staff too, just to help all of you to be more effective. So that's what's in store for them. Okay.
Kimmy, you got the floor.
Now you.
All right.
Okay, Michael. All right, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is how operationally we are handling these market challenges, and one of the top things that we're doing is increasing our communication amongst our team. So primarily the planners are sending constant updates to our customer service team on freight needs and where the drivers need to go. What I want to do is to use this forum to say how critical it is upon load calls that we know ETAs, PTAs, hours of service when available, and if there are any delays in transit, that operations is updated. I say that for many reasons. One is we can't really book freight if we don't know what's happening or when you're available. The second reason is there is no mercy at all with these customers anymore. They're scorecarding us. 1 minute late is late, and we've got carriers in line to take our business, basically, from us in essence. So wanted to use the forum to talk about that a little bit. We've all heard Al Hill say, I think we've had signs at one point, service with our salesman. Yes. And that's true, and it could be more true now. So it's really serious, and I just want to heighten the awareness on that. Our first line of defense, of course, is try to hit our customers up, but some of the volumes have been inconsistent. So our backup is to use our own in-house logistics company to fill in that freight bucket. We do that as much as possible. However, that's not always going to do it, and we have to get out on these outside broker boards, which is not only painful for the drivers, it is also painful for operations. There's a lot more steps involved: live unload, the tracking, the apps. Do know this is a Band-Aid for us. We don't like it either, but we have to do that in order to keep all the drivers productive. Now I'll talk about what some of our obstacles are for this fiscal year. The first one Rob briefly mentioned is our enhanced operational reporting. I won't go into all the bells and whistles, but the main thing that we are going to be focusing on in operations is productivity of the driver. Next, we are we are doing individual seat incentives for our drayage division, DSMs. It'll actually be every seat in operations eventually, but the idea behind that is to tie those incentives in with our operational goals as a whole. The big target, again, you're going to hear this 20 times, is for driver productivity. So that's what those incentives will be aligned with. Next, we've got OrbCom. Glenn has done a lot of work with his team and shop, and I know Ryan's taken the lead with routing this equipment in here. There's a lot of good things that happen with OrbCom that affect all of us. The top one is, we are getting close. I don't know the total count, maybe
607.
Okay, so we're getting close there. One thing that we can do is monitor our temperature control loads, which is great. Nobody likes claims. The visibility of our equipment. So now, rather than drivers running around looking for empties, we can tell whether they're loaded or empty and send them to those places versus having physical lot checks, which saves them time. Also, which is a bonus, is trailer detention. So any of these customers that are lagging in getting our equipment empty, we can start billing them for additional revenue, which we need during times like this. The last goal, and I did not say this last meeting, Paul's not here, is he, is our drayage division. This goal is a lofty goal of 60 drivers and 50 loads per week. It's nearly doubled, I think, and Sarah and Paul have really had to step up to the plate with not a whole lot of additional support to keep those drivers busy and going. And that's a really high visibility account that they've done, so good job, Sarah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We did have to take a reduction in rate from O&E to keep that business. So it's yet another customer we had to do that with. Our sales team is really focused on filling in the gaps of that with 53-foot reefer freight to keep these guys busy, and gals, out to the coast and back and find some backhauls to reduce some of that deadhead.
Yeah, one thing besides that, so the One Ocean Network, the source loading, when we load a 40-footer right at the slaughterhouses, I go all the way to Oakland and then to Japan, those Japanese exports, they're looking at further reductions in costs. So what they're trying to do now is, when at the slaughterhouse, load a 53-foot trailer, take it to Oakland and transload it into an ocean container at Oakland, and it saves them a couple $1,000s a load. They're doing a little bit of that. I don't know how long they're going to go much of that, but the loads will still be there. It's whether or not it'll be in a 40-footer versus a 53. So we're seeing a little substitution effect, but the business is still there.
Mm-hmm. Next slide, Michael. I am presenting the sales goals in lieu of Scott Hill. This is his birthday present, so happy birthday, Scott. The top one is our Sam's business, and the goal for the sales team was to keep our incumbent lanes and then also win some additional business. We got halfway there. We did keep our incumbent lanes, but yet again, we had to take a rate reduction to do that. We did not get awarded any new business. We also have a heavyweight program that Al and Scott and I believe Pat are all working on, and that is just to offer those customers cost savings. We do want to take advantage of utilizing the day cabs and kind of extending our footprint into that market. We do expect to start executing, I can't really give a solid time with...
Yeah, Smithfield started loading somewhere around 46 to 48,000 pounds. Day cabs can handle that weight, but it's just the short runs from Nebraska to Kansas City,
Right.
Nebraska and Iowa to Kansas City. I don't think you'll see a lot of that, but you'll hear it from other day cab drivers. Tyson may flip to that, where they can get 47 to 48,000 pounds on load. So That's what the program is. It won't be network-wide, no way.
Right. So baby steps, one step at a time. The third goal on there is to look for opportunities for the shuttle transfer work for customers who currently do that themselves. Al and Scott are in talks with Skinner to handle more of their warehouse business, and really ultimately looking at taking all of that over. The benefit of that is it's consistent, high-value work for our local drivers. I'm looking for the opportunity just to take that completely over. Lastly, Dragan, we're really trying to reduce that deadhead. There's a lot of time spent trying to find freight with Al and Scott and Sarah and Paul and some other people in our group. So that's a big...
Yeah, it is big. The 40-footers, the way they paid us was a round trip. So we could afford to come back empty from Oakland with the 40s. Now that they took a 10% haircut, we've got to load every trailer back. Every 40, every 53. We've got to work on getting them loaded back. We still run some empty every week. We just got to see if we can eliminate that to 0.
Yes.
Yes.
Together, we're better together.
We're together.
So to close that out, I do want to say, it's extremely frustrating for the drivers with some of the freight that we've had to fill these gaps in. We're not here to punish you. We're just grabbing what we can to keep everybody busy. It's temporary. I don't know the end date to it, so just be patient with us. And also the ops team that's worked really hard. There's a lot more effort involved in taking non-customer freight, I assure you. So, but it's been all hands on deck, so that is all I have.
Well, good. Thank you.
Thank you, Al.
Here.
All right.
Mitch Evans, you have the floor, sir.
Come on, round 2. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Certainly, thank you for coming out to our 115 all-employee. Certainly, this is a tale of 2 years because things couldn't be any more different now than they were a year ago. A year ago, on the front-end experience for drivers, and that's our marketing folks. Laura, happy 2-year anniversary being around here, by the way. Nice. You've probably all seen a whole bunch of Laura's work in the last 2 years, rebranding different things, getting our name out there, cutting costs. All those things have been accomplished in the last year, and we're certainly all about controlling costs this year as we recruit drivers and onboard drivers. And Deb, I missed a shout out last time to you and Swanton as I talk about that front-end experience, that even though HR reports up to our CFO, they couldn't be a more integral part of what everything else is done, whether they're coming out of ProFleet and they come into Hill Brothers. I made a joke last time because Dave Carnaby was in here. About every other week, Dave has a little bit of a struggle with, oh man, Mitch, we're not going to have trucks. And I always have to remind him, Dave, that's not your problem, don't worry about it. It's maintenance's problem. Yes. And then every time.
No.
My favorite answer in the whole world. And then they produce. We have not had one driver hired in the last year that had to sit and wait for a truck because we stay in a very tight communication loop. And the minute that driver qualifies coming out of safety and HR, maintenance has a truck ready for them when they're moving freight. So that big giant wheel has spun very well this last year. That a year ago, we started the year at 178 driver count, and we started this fiscal year at 220. And that's a testament to everybody involved in that front-end experience. That is now our goal for 2024, is to maintain 215 to 225. If we stay in that range all year, that keeps every single truck off the fence, every single driver moving, and it keeps that whole cycle turning and spinning. So that's the recruiting goal. On the safety front, we all saw everybody in operations and maintenance. Thank you for your contributions. We dropped our vehicle maintenance score from above threshold to about 25 points below threshold. And we're a whisker away from getting hours of service under control. Once we get hours of service below government threshold, our ISS score will go into the green. Drivers, you know what ISS is all about, right? If it's red, what's the likelihood of a level 1? A lot higher than if it's green. So we're shooting for green. That means more of our drivers get to drive and they get to spend less time at the scale houses being bothered by DOT. So those are our goals for this next year. Not to mention, is maintenance certainly can attest to, right? We don't have a lot of major, catastrophic crashes. Every now and then, knock on, that's right, knock on wood. But we do have our fair share of a mirror gets knocked off, an ICC bumper gets smashed up, and those $500,000, $1,500 charges really add up. So as we go into a massive effort to control our costs, the safety team working in conjunction with operations, we're going to put a lot of pressure on folks to, come on man, let's get out and look. Right, the fundamentals. Let's get back to the fundamentals so we cut down on our overall total accident costs, because the little ones are where we spend a lot of money. So that's everything from marketing, recruiting, and safety, and certainly got a lot to share about ProFleet, 1 year now, and certainly couldn't be more thrilled that Roger has decided to join this team, because boy, in the 6 months that he's been here, you talk about a change. But more importantly, I get to shut up now and let Roger talk. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks for showing up, everybody. I'm Roger Murphy. I know most of you, but if you don't, after this presentation, you'll think that it's Roger Biden. My public speaking abilities all shine through. Okay, so inception through June 23rd, $580,000. Okay, struggles other than my public speaking abilities. The industry itself is in a downturn. They're struggling. Okay, so that kind of reaches over to us as well. Okay, thanks guys. We're out there scratching and clawing every day, okay? But positively, 25 of our students are now Hill Brother drivers, or at least they were. I don't know what the retention is there. We are now Nebraska and Iowa WIOA approved. That's the grants, okay? Nebraska through the Douglas, Sarpy, and Washington County, as of February, are basically non-existent. So we've had a struggle there. A brand new company, you need all the help you can. Mitch, Al, Pete said he's gonna maybe try to talk to Don Bacon, and that's another one. So we're scratching and clawing. We're getting in front of companies. We're making great strides. Okay, the Department of Labor in the state of Nebraska looks to us for answers. That's pretty good considering our competition. Okay, the Department of Labor, all the career coaches, all of those folks basically have Mitch and I on speed dial. So we're moving in the right direction, but we need to keep that positive attitude and keep going. Okay, the struggle to break even, it's a struggle. We have competition. The nation's largest truck driving school is right here in Omaha, 160 Driving Academy. Then they have Roadmaster, owned by Werner, another one. Custom Diesel Drivers Training, been in Omaha since 1971. Again, like I said in the earlier, I don't know the numbers of 160 Driving Academy, but I do know that the state of Nebraska will not send a prospective student through that program any longer. In April, we saved the state of Nebraska. They sent 13 people that had failed to make it through the program through there, and we helped them. And they all, or with the exception of one, are now CDL holders. Okay? It's been a real struggle. But my instructors, even on a slow day, they're out handing out cards, brochures. We're talking to people. We're getting in front of people. Which leads me to this. The rebranding is in the infancy of it, but we're gonna do it, okay? I'm not sure exactly where we're gonna end up on the final logo, but that's a big one too. A ProFleet. I'm the one going up, knocking on doors. Again, I used earlier Tyson. That's one of our Hill Brothers customers. A few weeks back, I went into Tyson, talked to the individuals. I'm Roger with ProFleet. Have you ever heard of us? And no. You've got 5 of our trailers sitting out in your parking lot. Hill Brothers. Oh, how's that? That's exactly what they said. So that rebranding, just getting that name recognition out there. Custom Diesel, been here since 1971. As of this morning, Custom Diesel has 11 students on their board. That's, I know it's not Thunder.
It is.
It is? Go figure, and I washed the car on the way to work. Right this morning, Custom Diesel has 11 people on their board. That's orientation, that's individuals that have been through orientation, that are waiting to get their commercial learner's permit, and that's those behind the wheel. Roadmaster has 7 in that same category, 7 on their board. Our board this morning, we have 18. Okay, now, we're still struggling. We're still struggling. But that's the big players in Omaha. And we have what both do combined. So, super happy that we're moving in the right direction. A couple of companies that we're trying to solidify here, Dollar General. Again, that's in the works with their attorneys, I believe, at the present moment. Lynn Gas and Equipment out of Carter Lake, Wright Sewage and Drain. That's just a couple. Kiewit, Safety Clean Harbors, and Highland Dairy are now on board with us. To either purchase our drivers for $1,000, okay, or pay for their employees to come through. Okay, so it's all moving in the right direction. We just keep that upbeat attitude, smile, strength, perseverance, and we're all going to get there. And thank you, everybody. Mitch, Rob, all of our Hill Brothers. Maintenance, again, thank you very much. Everybody, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Glenn, it's all yours, brother.
Thank you, sir. So maintenance, there we go. As Rob said, we're getting new trucks. We're long overdue for trucks. We're still behind the curve a little bit, but we're gonna try and get that number a little closer to where we're supposed to be at. So our goal this year is to try and get our fuel miles up to 7.75. We're at 7.29 for the last year. New trucks help that, but also what we do in the shop, tuning the trucks as we do with the computers, is kind of what we do every day, trying to keep things up to date, trying to make sure the transmission shifts the way they're supposed to. Thanks to our guys in the shop. Our guys did a great job over the last year, just keeping things running. We've been short-staffed for the whole year. One of our goals is to try and be fully staffed. We're only one person away, which is very close for us. Very hard to keep mechanics, very hard to find mechanics. So to get our fuel mileage.
Right, I just want to shout out to you guys. So stand up, because what you've gotten through this week with the heat, and the thank you for everything you do. Cheers to your team.
Thanks, guys, appreciate it. So part of the way we're gonna get to this is the new trucks would help, because they get better fuel mileage, but drivers, if you could do your pre-trips, post-trips, get yourself from being broke down on the side of the road, make your runs a little bit shorter. You could be stuck after 3, 4, 5 hours, no fault of our own. Our breakdown people do a great job trying to find somebody to get you off the road. It's sometimes difficult, especially in, depending on where you're at, but they do a good job trying to find, whoever they can to get you going. We put tire inflation systems on. That was a suggestion of Mr. Hill. Pete gave us a good idea of doing that. That's helped us to, get through the inspections with no flat tires, but it also has helped our fuel mileage. By keeping the tires up to full air pressure, we've gained probably about 10% on our fuel mileage. So that and all the new trucks is really gonna help us get to our goal. Like I said, staffing is a big deal for us, and trailer tracking. Our two guys in the shop here that did most of it are sitting over the table right there. Randy and, what we call him Hank, his name's Caleb, but he's called Hank. That did most of the installs. Troubleshooting, a lot of trouble trying to get this ORBCOMM going. It's up to like 600 of the 700 are working now. Ryan's helped us a lot getting things through there and kind of troubleshooting things. So we're doing a good job. Keep it up. And a shout out to Randy, happy birthday.
Big shout out to Ryan Hill. This ORBCOMM deal has been a big struggle, and we're getting there. We're almost done, but this thing's going to be huge with all the abilities ORBCOMM is going to give us on trailer tracking and all the other benefits of it. And with that said, Michael Deck, thank you for being here. It's all yours.
All right. I'd just like to start off real quick is introduce myself / reintroduce myself to anyone who may not know who I am or may have forgotten. But I am Michael Deck, Director of Transportation at Hill Brothers Logistics. Been here for a little over 3 years. There's no better place to be than Hill Bros. It truly is a phenomenal business to work for. But as I say that, it's been 1.5 years since we've all really been under the same roof again, or at least in the same area. So it's awesome that everyone's finally, or at least almost everyone's finally over to M Street, M Circle, I guess. But I look forward to seeing faces a lot more often than the emails that we've been going back and forth with. With that, we'll move on. So I'll talk about what we've been doing for the last year. We'll move into HBL Omaha, HBL Falk, which is our Lincoln office. We'll also talk about Hill Bros asset side and how working together, we're just better together. So we're rebuilding our HBL floor. So in this prepare to, no, not prepare to thrive. We're not thriving right now. Endure. We're not prepared to endure, right? We have to think about what's the best way to get a good base and how are we going to get about this. So over the last year, right, we've had Nick Hill promoted into a customer success manager to run our account managers. He does a fantastic job of making sure that they're all together and then keeping our messages to our customers in the right tone at the right time so that we can keep getting the freight that we're getting. As has been mentioned, this time right now, service is everything. So we've got to make sure that our messages are correct. Talking about our, with that, Dennis Sims has been able to switch over and focus more on our LSCs and our CSRs so that our scheduling gets done in a timely manner, also with transit times that work for our sales teams. But also then our CSRs or our LSCs with their tracking capabilities and how they're calling our trucks, making sure that everyone's picking up on time, delivering on time. And then leaving on my team, we've got John Warman, Jason Freeman as 2 team leads, separating 2 different teams to help keep communication easy and possible and fast. We need to make quick decisions when it comes to booking trucks, especially in markets like this, where things aren't as easy as we want them to be. So in order to keep as much money in the house, right, those things have to happen quickly. This is what we're doing to get a base to go forward with. And then our sales team has increased by 1, Brian Mueller, he's in here. But so we have Chris, who's down in Kansas City. We've got 2 people now making sales calls for us, along with Scott Hill on the asset side, that really kind of help drive our business forward. A part of that. So here at Hill Bros and Hill Bros Logistics, we believe in our people, 100%. Foremost in everything. People are what can get things done. But people need help. So we're also investing in technology to make that done. What we've brought on recently is Zoom Info, which is a whole database full of 100 million companies across the United States with phone numbers, emails, contact names, and people that you want to talk to. So that our salespeople can get the right people on the phone the first time, instead of spending months just trying to get through all the white paper, all the white noise to get to the person they really need to talk to. Some things that can help both sides of the business. Also, a part of that, HubSpot. HubSpot's a system that creates an ability for Scott Hill, Brian, and Chris to communicate inside of a system and also make sure that message gets sent to the customer. So that way, if Brian's talking to somebody yesterday, he can put his notes in the system about what he said. That same customer calls up today, Scott Hill can look at what was talked about yesterday, present that same message. So as we talk about being better together, then we're gonna grow from HDL and the asset side of things. It's not just one thing, it is both companies working together. So we'll talk about bulk. For those that don't know, bulk commodities are all your raw ingredients. So when you talk about Anheuser-Busch needs barley, malt, hops to get into to brew their beers. Well, these two gentlemen sitting over here, Josh, Eduardo, if you stand up, please.
Stand up, guys.
They have moved that for Anheuser-Busch, and they're moving a lot of stuff. They started in April. April was really more of a half a month. But so in 4.5 months, those two, along with Tyler's, that were here in the first meeting, have brought $1 million in revenue, which is just a phenomenal feat. So congratulations, guys. We brought on Tyler Soberg to run that division, brought him in from a bulk brokerage that's been running out of Lincoln for a long time. So somebody with a lot of knowledge, and they've been doing a great job. Looking forward to what they're doing. Most important thing here is we talk about this $1 million, right? That's a great number, but they're making money off of it. They've had 2 straight months of profitability, and those four core KPIs that they're looking at, they're doing a great job. So thank you guys. Yeah. And we move on. Right, we're better together. Assets and logistics working together is how it's going to work. A couple years ago, $70 million combined revenue between the two companies. Last fiscal year, $120 million. I mean, just phenomenal growth. Right, we talk about that endure that we're doing right now. Right, so we build our base, we're going to endure. Then the next time when we start to thrive, it's going to just jump again because we've already got all that solid base going on. A part of this, Smithfield and Hormel, 2 great stories about how we work together to get better for the company. Smithfield, assets got us in the door on the logistics side. So we are now moving Smithfield loads. Something we've been trying to do for 2 years at least. But we were able to have a big win in the RFP recently. Hormel, somebody that we kind of logistics got our foot back in the door with, that assets did work with before. Now another big RFP win, 450 loads from Hormel going to the asset company. Just phenomenal what we can do together. It's great. One thing I would like to finish up with, I'd like to thank Cammie for working with Jesse in order to create better communication between our teams, so that when assets need a load from the logistics side, it comes along better, there's not bickering. A big part of that, Travis Steele and Renee have followed up on that. So I just thank you to them and everyone across the board. We are better together, and it's going to only get better from here.
Here, thank you, Michael. What he says about we're better together, that is so true. I tell you what, the opportunities are endless. Brian, we talk about the customer bases out there. Assets won't have trucks for every customer, but logistics does. And believe me, we have just scratched the surface on growth in logistics. That will have an opportunity for the assets at some point in time. But the bulk guys, the divisions out of Lincoln, you guys have been phenomenal. We're very, very proud of you. And we know the sky's the limit for you guys as well. So thank you, and God bless you all.
Yeah, I mean, that working together, when we looked at those, I didn't highlight it probably on that financial forecast, but, having those 2 companies together and just the growth, that logistics company is 3 times the size it was. I mean, that's just a bigger business. That means we have more revenue to start with, before we go into this. So that partnership's huge. I want to take a moment. I asked Swapna, and thank you for some feedback. I said, you listened to the first presentation we did. It's a lot of information, first of all. So I know all of you might be sitting there like, whoa, that was just a lot. Take a breath. But the reason is that we want to be transparent. One of the benefits that I come from the accounting and finance side at every company I've been at. When you're in the accounting and finance side, you get a sense for everything that's going on because you kind of can see a lot of it. That's a huge advantage. I remember talking to people that would be in one part of the operation going, I don't know what's happening. And that's why we go through these kind of things, so that all of you can get some visibility to what everybody's doing. Because I really want us all to feel like part of that team, and not to sit there, whether it's, hey, what do those guys do in the shop? I want you to know. I want you to know the things that they're doing, the goals that they have to improve the organization, because none of you are alone. We're all trying to get through this together. So if it's a lot of information, that's why. So a few things to take with you. One, we want to do more of this every quarter. We're going to give you a financial report. I know when times are tough and you hear a lot in the news, negative probably about trucking, and you hear about bankruptcies, in the back of your mind you might be thinking, well, how are we doing? So we're going to try to do better every quarter, recording Al and I some financial performance, maybe bring along some of the executives to let you know what's new. We'll try to be better with that. The other thing I'll share, in tough times, we set up a culture to really help through this. So when you yourself are being challenged, you kind of look to that culture maybe to help make some decisions. Relentless about improvements, own it, finding a way, and of course celebrate and laugh. There's going to be some tough times, and maybe we're not going to celebrate and laugh and kick trash cans or whatever that might be like we used to, but there's different ways we can celebrate and laugh. There's different ways you can have each other's back. You see somebody having a tough day, pats on the back, a little encouragement, those go a long way. So, look to yourselves to help each other. Yeah, a clap never hurts. Thank you. Lastly here, I want to share, I spent some time, Pete and I were out at a TCA refrigerated conference here recently, and we got the benefit of hearing from Chad Williams, who's a former Navy SEAL, who gave just a tremendous presentation. He talked a lot about the 7 tenets to be successful as a SEAL. It was pretty fascinating. I don't have time to take you through all of them, but I want to highlight what the 7th one was. And it's up on the screen here, and it says, the 7 of 7 of their keys to success were to rely upon the legacy of those who have gone before us. So as a Navy SEAL, they certainly know that there were SEALs before them that pioneered that program. Some of those folks lost their lives. So in some way, for them as a new SEAL, they get to carry on that legacy. So that's really what that's about. Part of what they do is they have a uniform. Everybody gets a hat, a baseball cap, and they're all encouraged to write something inside that cap, because it's up on the screen there, I think, 13? 13 out of 173 are going to make it through this program. That means a lot of people are dropping out. What they encourage you to do is write something on the inside of that hat that's going to keep you from dropping out, whatever that might be, whoever that might be. And, we're going to have a tough year ahead. We're going to be positive. We're going to celebrate and laugh, but there's going to be some tough times. So we've got a legacy ourselves. Pops started this company over 45 years ago. I mentioned earlier, we have money set aside to make that plate payment in December. I said a little bit with Pete yesterday, that was a struggle. There were years you didn't know if you were going to make it. So Pete Hill, Pops, they were there slugging it away, trying to squirrel money away to make sure that they could keep those trucks moving. So right now we're in a much different financial situation, but we wouldn't be here without what those folks have done. So let's try to carry on that legacy. And I ask all of you, whatever you want to write inside your hat, because in the next year it might be tough. There may be some days you're not sure if you can get through it. But you need something, whether that's your family, whether that's your dog, whether that's whoever you love and support through this, put that on your hat. And maybe it's the person next to you, and maybe it might change, but we're all going to need a little bit of that. So get a hat and write something inside. That's going to keep you coming back. With that, thank you all for being here. This is being recorded. For all the drivers that are out there, we appreciate what you do every single day. We're trying to do our best to support you. And the last thing I want to say is we've moved to a new building at M Circle. First of all, I heard something from some drivers that they asked if they were welcome at that building. I want to tell you, absolutely, you are welcome. We're going to have parking spaces set up for your trucks if you're coming over in your trucks. If you come over in your car, there's plenty of room to park. We're looking at, I think, some ways, some Ubers. If you're over at the terminal, you need to get over here. You're going to be able to take an Uber to get over here if you need to talk to someone. So you're absolutely welcome here. The people in the office may have moved. They moved because we're growing, which is a good thing, but all the people here are gonna work just as hard as they have in the past to give you everything you need to be successful. They're just doing it out of a different place. But you're welcome here. We want you here. We want to see you over here. If we could have moved this building and set it over at the terminal and still had enough room for all of our trucks,
We would have.
we would have. But we couldn't do that, okay? So we're trying to facilitate the growth of all these businesses, and that's what we had to do. So we appreciate your persevering through it, and we certainly want your suggestions. If there's ways as a driver that we can support you better when we move these campuses, please don't be silent about that. Let us know, because we don't want the fact that we moved to be anything that makes your job more difficult than it already is. So with that, we're going to wrap up. Yeah, absolutely.
There's one person that we have not thanked, and I noticed we didn't do it in the first meeting, and without this person being here and challenging us the way he has been doing, we wouldn't be as successful as we have, and that's Rob Sauer. So if we could give everybody a round of applause.
I think that's about it. So,
That's all, folks.
God bless you all. Thank you, and get back to work.